Can I beat a 4BC run in Dead Cells with pets only? Well, today, let's find out. What's going on, guys? My name is Psyche, and today we're going to be doing something slightly different than your typical 5BC run. Now, you may have noticed some things right off the bat. First of all, I'm not at 5BC, instead I'm at 4BC. And you might notice something a little bit unusual about my loadout. The reason that I'm doing this today is to showcase one of the new aspects that was introduced in version 2.5 of the game, which is called the Menagerie aspect. It states that your pets deal additional damage. So I thought what better way to test out the effectiveness of this aspect than to do a run with 2 pets only in my slots. And of course I'm going to be doing this on custom mode mainly because, well, all the pets in the game have different colors and I really want them to scale off of my stats. So in the custom game menu, what I did is that I turned on colorless items, which allow me to have both Serenade as well as the Owl scale with survival. The reason I'm picking survival is pretty obvious since it gives you the most amount of health. And you might be wondering, well, aren't there 3 pets in the game currently? Yes, there is also Mushroom Boy. However, since these 2 items in the game are the only 2 items that's going to be dishing out any type of damage, I'm going to need them to do a lot of the heavy work. And Mushroom Boy does not exactly cut it, unfortunately. And this is also one of the few instances where I actually am forced to learn the movesets of the Serenade. The Serenade is a brand new skill that was introduced in the Fatal Falls expansion. And it has a very unique moveset, as you'll see later on. Essentially, you can toggle it out with your main weapon slots, and you have to wait for it to actually hit an enemy on its own before you swap it, so you'll be able to do critical hits afterwards. So it is very different on how it can be used. That being said though, you might also be wondering, well, why am I not doing this on 5BC? Well, the truth is, guys, this is actually pretty difficult. I actually had to restart twice at this point. Once because I actually died, and the other time, well, I kind of forgot to activate the Menagerie aspect, and then I was like 2 biomes in, so kind of a stupid move on my part. And here I'm going to do something I normally never do in my normal runs, and this is skipping Prison Depths. So normally at 5BC I go to Prison Depths because it gives me an additional scroll stat. However, in this case, because the margin of error is so small, because I can't really imagine myself going through Prison Depths unscathed, I decided to just skip it. Now obviously this comes at a sacrifice of having less gold cells as well as 1 less scroll stat. I decided to do it anyways. I mean, what can possibly go wrong? Now, in terms of the aspect, I've also considered running like a biters only build, where I just have my 2 skill slots filled with the Swarm Grenade, and I just kind of use that as my sole means of doing damage. The thing is though, it's still not very good because the biters just die on its own and they don't do any damage at all. Swarm is just kind of a terrible item in my opinion. I did do some testing trying to make it work and I could not do it, unfortunately. I decided to go to the Morass of the Banished mainly because Mama Tick is a stationary boss, so she is fairly easy to fight compared to Conjunctivius. I didn't want to go to the Concierge simply because he's too easy and doesn't give you enough rewards to really justify going there. Now that being said though, this run is being done on the brand new 2.5 patch, so there are going to be some slight changes to the run later on. In terms of mutations, I really wasn't sure what I was gonna pick. This run you can't really pick any normal mutations simply because they don't synergize at all. For example, combo from Brutality. I'm not even sure if it scales with your skills, but since I'm running nothing in my main slots anyways, I don't think how that can apply. Same goes for a lot of the parry mutations, they just don't work. So afterwards, I just decided to take No Mercy as well as Disengagement for some pretty defensive options. And here is where things are gonna get a little bit dicey. I'm gonna try to lift the curse from Morass of the Banished. This curse is guaranteed, and because of this weird setup, I'm gonna have a bit of trouble kind of fighting the enemies to lift the curse. If you're wondering why I'm handling the Serenade pretty well right now, this is because I actually had a lot of practice. Like I said before, I did try this for 2 runs. I obviously failed both times, but I'm starting to get the hang of Serenade now. It is definitely a very useful pet. It actually does a surprising amount of damage. I'm not sure if this is because of the Menagerie aspect or it's just very powerful by default. But I'm just gonna show kind of the footage of me fighting the different elites so you can kind of get a feel of how powerful this can actually be. I normally don't run Serenade in my runs. I don't think it's that bad, but I don't think it's that good either. It's not like the Owl where it's just passive damage. Now, of course, running the Owl is also going to pose some kind of risk, simply because if you get hit, the Owl just goes away, which makes activating the Owl, or at least angering it, really risky. Since if you get hit while it's angered, it's going to have a very long cooldown, and you really don't want that, especially in some of the bosses. We're going to come up on the second giant tick monster. It's not really a problem, but because I don't have a shield, it's really hard for me to dodge its attacks. You know, he attacks twice. You kind of have to dodge away from a really great distance, or you just have to tank it, I guess. And here I just wanted to show off this footage. I don't know how that Rampager saw me coming. He was invisible, and then he just kind of sniped me when I climb up that platform. The monsters are getting more and more intelligent, I see. We're gonna go and unlock one of the gold outfits. This is mainly just to flex, but other than that, we're gonna come up to the Mama Tick fight. I chose Mama Tick because, again, she is stationary, so I assumed that it's going to be an easy target. Not much I can do other than just use Serenade to auto-attack for me and get in some attacks of my own. Of course, the UI kind of gets in the way. I wish this was something they would fix. It's hard to see where the scythe would kind of rise up and hit you, but we're going to enter the first scythe phase now. I'm going to do what I usually do, is to just camp in the corner and roll whenever the exclamation mark shows up. This is just a really safe way to cheese this attack. Mama Tick is going to rise up, and I really wanted to play defensively here. I decided to dodge when it's necessary. I'm not gonna risk getting in too many attacks. Serenade does attack pretty fast, but it's not that fast, I feel. But I was surprised how quickly I was able to approach the second scythe phase. So just like before, camp in the corner. There are exactly 2 scythes that can rise up, and after that you just have to wait till Mama Tick returns and you're back into the fight. She's gonna do the melee strikes. I just move away to the other side, and I actually thought the pets would be able to hit her, but apparently not, I guess. We're just gonna slowly chip away at her health, again dodging when necessary, and it's honestly not that bad. I can't even imagine how tough this fight will be if I went to Conjunctivius. She's moving all over the place, and this setup really isn't suited for the fight. Now, I'm actually pretty close to the end of the fight now, and I was wondering if I can actually no-hit the fight. And as it turns out, I was able to do it. So that was a very welcoming surprise, and here you'll see one of the new features that was added in 2.5, and that is incentivized biomes. So as it turns out, because I haven't visited Fractured Shrines as much as my other biomes, aka Graveyard, one of the best biomes in the game, I decided to come here because I wanted to see what the incentivized biomes feature was all about. So apparently you get additional gold and cells for coming to biomes you don't normally visit. And it's kind of Motion Twin's way of incentivizing you to, explore all the biomes you normally don't go to. I suppose I am noticing a difference in the amount of resources that I'm getting, though it is not that substantial, I feel. Now, Fractured Shrines has been revamped since 2.4. There are now new layouts you can explore, which means this biome is gonna feel more foreign to me, since I haven't actually seen a lot of the new structures yet. I'm going to go into yet another revamped biome later in the run, as you will see a bit later. In the meantime, I'm trying to pick out my targets one by one and just, pick them off from a distance. Again, being cursed on this challenge run is definitely something you want to be careful on. I don't imagine normal people are gonna do this, but I was honestly surprised on how much damage I was actually doing. And there, by accident, I picked up an ice bow. Now, because there is no way to intentionally drop your items in your main slots, I just had to have it on me for the rest of the run now, so it's a little bit unfortunate. But I'm just gonna put it in my second main slot, and I'm just not going to touch it. Obviously, it's not intended by the game that you don't have any weapons in your inventory, but this will be a pretty special occasion. We're gonna fight the second Vault Guardian. Again, with Serenade, it actually hits a lot, and because I have no mercy, it's going to make everything just slightly easier. So this will be the first of many challenge runs I plan to do. I have tested some of the other aspects, and some of them actually feel pretty strong. I was thinking of doing like a grenades only run. I was also thinking of doing like a turrets only run. There was an aspect that lets your turrets have like a 1 second cooldown, which is pretty insane. You can just kind of sit by your turrets and let everything do its job. There's also the damned aspect, which states that while you're cursed, you take and deal double damage. So a thing that I thought of immediately was the Curse Sword, and if it actually works with the damned aspect, which I haven't tried out yet, I might do a run where I just use the Curse Sword only to do like a 4 BC run or something. I just have the Curse Sword in my inventory, nothing else, no shield, no skills, just that and the damned aspect. And I think that would be pretty interesting. Now if I'm gonna be honest, some of the other challenges I've tried out, primarily the grenades only run, that one is insanely difficult. Because the Grenadier aspect states that whenever you kill something with a grenade, both your skills refresh their cooldown. So you have to chain together kills with the 2 grenades you have to keep doing damage. But the thing is though, if you waste both of them, then you have to wait like 20 seconds. Because most of the grenades in the game have very long cooldown. By this point, I'm not sure if I'll go through with it. It does seem very difficult. I have tried it for a couple hours and I just could not get to like the 3rd biome. It's very hard. Of course, if you guys also have some suggestions for challenge runs I can do, definitely let me know. With the inclusion of the new aspects, I will be more than happy to try them out. And honestly, it makes for some pretty interesting content. But I'm gonna go into the clock tower. Again, this is a biome I normally don't go to, but because it was incentivized, I thought, well, why not? And I really didn't want to fight the giant, mainly because the giant hits you pretty hard, and you don't want to be in the fight for too long. And I don't think this build has what it takes to really have a smooth giant fight. So I'm gonna do something a bit different and go into the clock tower. And then I'm just waiting outside the boss room because I wanted the Serenade to come back, simply because for some reason, when you go through doors or you enter the next biome, if you have already activated Serenade, it just enters cooldown, which I'm not sure why it does that, but as soon as I can activate it again, I'm gonna go into the fight. And here we're gonna fight the Timekeeper. Again, this is gonna be pretty tough, and I'm not really expecting the same luck as I had in the Mama Tick fight. Luckily though, Timekeeper doesn't seem to have a lot of health anyways, so I don't imagine the fight will last that long. But again, landing hits is gonna be pretty hard since she moves all over the place, and a lot of her attacks are extremely vicious. So just like what I was doing before, landing attacks while it's safe, and because I got hit, the owl went into cooldown, so I think in this fight, I'm not going to anger the owl at all simply because I just don't want to get hit. Getting hit is just too big of a consequence. For my 3rd mutation, I just picked something generic. I think that's Soldier Resistance. I'm not too sure by the icon. I remember it's not a mutation that I pick often, and I just know that it increases your health. Since the more health that I have, the easier the run gets, which is fine by me. So relying on the Serenade's auto attacks, dodging the shurikens when I have to. Again, I was surprised how much damage Serenade was able to do. And I'm not sure if Menagerie activates when the pets are actually on by your side or if you just have to have them in your inventory. But yeah, as you might imagine, the fight didn't go necessarily as well as it did Mama Tick, and I'm going to go into the Distillery. So this is one dangerous biome. This is not a biome I come very often. And since the 2.4 revamp of this biome, I always want to take Masochist when I come here, simply because I'm not too familiar with the new traps. So as you can see here with these doors, I really like how they programmed these trap puzzles. You see how by closing that door, I was able to bounce the barrel back and open up this new passageway. So a lot of these new puzzles are really innovative in terms of how they used it, but again, the risk of getting hit here is just way too much. The barrels hit you for a lot of health. And of course, at this moment, I forgot that you actually have to pick up the barrel launcher to proceed with the level. Again, just like the ice bow, I'm just not going to touch it and just focus on my pets. At first, I wasn't sure if the build would be enough to handle the living barrels, since they kinda just explode after a while. Surprisingly though, the Serenade was actually able to wipe them out after it auto attacks once and I swap over to my main hand. As you can see here, there's always this long corridor of the living barrels. I just let it attack and it hit it as one of my own attacks and then it's just dead. So fortunately for me, I was able to get through that section rather easily. We're gonna approach the end of the biome now, and I'm actually running a little bit short on scroll stats. Normally on a 4/5 BC run, you want somewhere around 30, but this time around, again, it's because I skipped Prison Depths. I couldn't get a scroll stat, but I'm going to enter the throne room with 28 stats, which I imagine is okay, though it is going to struggle a little bit. Alright, final fight of the run. Can I actually do this? Now, I'm gonna warn you guys, during this fight, I'm going to accidentally fire my barrel launcher a little bit, simply because, again, there's no way to remove it from my inventory, and I forgot you actually need to have it in order to clear Distillery. Unfortunately, I am going to kind of intentionally break the rules of the run, but I think it's only for like 1 or 2 times. There were a couple times when I activated barrel launcher, I just immediately looked the other direction and I just launched the barrel into like nothing, since I want my pets to be doing all of the damage. Though at this point, the fight's doing surprisingly well. Obviously, because of how frantic this fight is, I am gonna have some mistakes here and there, and I decided to reroll my mutations one last time, this time around into something slightly different. Now normally I take emergency triage when I'm fighting endgame bosses, but in this case I actually thought extended healing might serve more of a function here. I get to heal more, and the more health that I have, the better it is. Thanks to disengagement, since you get an invisibility bubble when you get down to like 15% health, you can just use those iframes to use their health flask and activate extended healing. And since they quote-unquote buffed extended healing's duration to 10 seconds instead of 20, you can potentially get in a lot of health. He's gonna summon the enemies, not really a problem, it's kinda just an opportunity for me to heal back up. He's gonna enter the second phase now, adding a few more moves to his arsenal, just trying to get in as much damage as possible, and of course I messed up the timing of the ground slam. I'm not even sure why I have no mercy by this point, but I think it's because I have nothing else better to take. But yeah, that's gonna do it for the challenge run. Hand of the King is down. So hopefully you enjoyed this quirky little build that I came up with. I kind of just played this challenge by my rules. Hopefully I'll have some more challenge runs coming up for you guys in the future. So until then, stay tuned and thank you all for watching.